5 mistakes that I think almost all of the chiropractors that I speak with are making, and then we're going to walk through those today. So first off, I wanted to kind of give you a, hold on one second. Wanted to give you a state of the union of chiropractic marketing. So when it comes to chiropractic marketing, I feel like most offices are only focused on their website. Now that's the way it's been probably for the last 10 years, that basically every chiropractor has a website, which started a website within a couple of months of being in practice. So I've had one for 12, almost 13 years now. And I was the only person in my town that had a chiropractic website. Lately, what has been added to the mix has been almost everyone is doing Facebook ads. So those are like the 2 digital marketing strategies that people really have as their, I guess, go-to strategy when it comes to digital marketing. The problem with that is they are super limited. And I wanted to do this quick poll, and I just wanted to kind of get some context for where you guys are at in practice. So if you can give me your answer to this question. So where do you get the most new patients from? And the 4 that I really hear most are from online efforts, internal referrals, outside talks or spinal screenings, and then external referrals, meaning like MDs, attorneys, and gyms. So while you guys are answering that, I'll keep going with the State of the Union. The problem with what I find with those strategies, just having a website or maybe adding in Facebook ads as well, is that the Facebook ads, they are just constantly making an offer out to your community without really delivering any value. If any of you follow, let's see, so most people are getting the most new patients from internal referrals. Next is online efforts, and then outside talks and external referrals are after that. So just like my practice, online efforts and internal referrals are the top 2. And so what we're going to talk about today, I think, will help you get more out of the online efforts. So the problem with just having a Facebook page, or I'm sorry, just having a website or just running Facebook ads, is that you're not creating that value. So if any of you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, who's probably like my idol when it comes to content marketing, one of his first books was called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the jabs are basically those value videos, those blog posts that you're writing, those podcast interviews. Those are the things where you're delivering value to your target market without asking for anything. The right hooks are going to be when you actually make an offer, when you try to get them to cross the threshold and make it into your practice. But if all you're ever doing is just pushing out ads, you start to devalue the brand in your local community because they never get any value from you. And the people that are in the market for a chiropractor at that one moment, they may be interested in your offer, but the people that are looking for some education, that are looking to find out more about your practice and more about your personality, you're not giving them any of that, and those ads aren't delivering any of that. And then with the website, if you're just expecting Google to just shovel patients your way, you'll over time, you'll just tend to be disappointed with those efforts. So this is a little bit of, I'm just going to go through a quick history of just like when I started in practice and kind of where we're at now and kind of why you should listen to me and why my opinion matters. So in 2006, I graduated from Logan. I bought my first practice for $7,000, which was a good idea. It was an existing patient base. It was seeing about 30, 40 people a week as a satellite clinic. And I went from it being 2 half days a week to 3 full days. So because I was such a genius in my own mind, in 2007, I decided to start my second practice from scratch with no existing patients with a $100,000 loan. This was back when chiropractors could actually get bank loans. This was a bad idea at the time. It turned out okay, but it was a bad idea at the time. So in 2008, I had my first heart attack at 30 trying to run 2 practices. So when you talk about, thoughts, toxins, and traumas as like the 3 T's of the things that can create subluxation, this is, I'm able to say to them, I gave myself a heart attack from the stress that came from trying to run 2 businesses. I didn't know what I was doing. I was staying up till 3 in the morning. I was practicing 6 days a week and still trying to do all the things necessary to run a business. So when I was laying in my hospital bed, I was like, this is not something that I really want to die for, is like running 2 mediocre chiropractic offices. So I need to get something figured out. And what I figured out is what I needed to create leverage in my practices, and I needed to look outside of myself for help. So in 2009, I hired my first associate in each one of the offices. This didn't really solve my problem though, because I was still practicing 3 days a week in each. It was just that the other 3 days were now open and someone else was seeing patients. So I still was stressed out, but we were kind of moving in the right direction. And for those of you that have ever hired your first associate, you can imagine that this was not a smooth process. I was not a fantastic boss at that time. And so there was a lot of like ups and downs. So lost a couple along the way. I found someone, my first practice from me was in a town about 25 minutes away, and I just was getting really tired of the back and forth. So I found an associate that would buy it. He bought it. The problem was the economy had collapsed and no one was making any loans, so I had to carry the note in the meantime. So I didn't even really get paid. I just kind of like sold it in name only. But this was the moment that really like changed my life. So in 2011, I replaced myself in practice with my second associate. That person took over seeing the patients that I was seeing, and I stopped seeing patients altogether. So in 2010, we collected $250,000 in our my Springfield practice, and by 2014, we had collected $750,000. So in those 4 years, I didn't see any patients, but what I was able to focus on was the growth of the practice, was building the practice, was starting to do the things that I was passionate about, which was the marketing side and the business building. So in 2012, we moved into a 52 square foot building, lots of services. So I have a lot of moving parts. I've got massage therapists. I've got a 2,000 square foot gym. I've got cryotherapy, hyperbaric, spinal decompression, just pretty much everything you can think of. I've got in my practice, and I've got people that have to manage it. So I've got a great team in my chiropractic office, but I've got a lot of different things going on, so I can usually relate to whatever's going on in someone else's practice. In 2013, I finally got paid for my first practice, so 3 years later, so that was nice. 2014, we became an 8 weeks to wellness practice. So if you know Dane Donahue, it's a great program. We still do it to this day. And it allowed us to become more of a wellness center instead of just a chiropractic clinic. 2015 was another really big milestone in my life. I hired my first implementer. So if you have ever read the book Rocket Fuel by the guy who wrote Traction, his name's Gino Wickman. If you haven't read those two books, I would recommend them. It's Traction and Rocket Fuel. But in Rocket Fuel, it says that there are two kinds of people. There are integrators and there are visionaries. And you can take a test on like how much of one you are than the other. So I'm like a 98 on the visionary scale and like a 20 on the integrator scale, which means that I got lots of big ideas, but if I don't have help, nothing gets done. So I hired my first marketing implementer / integrator in 2015. And all of a sudden, all of these ideas that I had, especially as things were coming online and social media was becoming a bigger thing, now all of a sudden these things were actually getting implemented. And that's when things got exciting. So in 2016, I call this the year of content and chaos. So the year of content, I call it that because in 2016, January 1st, we decided every single week for 2016, we were going to create 2 videos and 1 blog. We had no ads. We didn't even really know how to run Facebook ads at that time. All we did was just create content and push it out to our community just to see what would happen. And I spent about $500 a month pushing that out. And I'll show you the results of that here in a little bit. So that's why we called it the year of content. The year of chaos was because I lost my second associate pretty quickly, and I had to jump back into practice for the first time in 6 years. So that was a pretty stressful time because I was just getting ready to launch Leverage Media. We were doing a lot of stuff, and I just didn't have time to also see patients on top of it, but it was kind of an emergency situation. So it was a little chaotic at the time. In 2017, we launched Leverage Media. So Leverage Media, I decided to do a done-for-you marketing agency because I got so frustrated in practice because I would go and I would get coaching, or I would buy a program, or I would just go learn from gurus, and it was great. It was good information. If I did it, it would probably work. The problem is I wasn't implementing, and that's what would always frustrate me, and I would feel bad about myself. So what I decided to do was, instead of teaching people about marketing, I just was like, they just need me to do it for them, because they're never going to learn all the stuff that I'm going to learn. They're never going to have the team that I have. So I'll just do it for them. All they have to do is create the content. So we came up with what I think is the first content marketing based digital marketing agency for chiropractic. I also in 2017 moved 3.5 hours away from my practice. So my practice is in Springfield, Illinois, which is in the middle of the state. I moved 3.5 hours north to Chicago because my girlfriend lives here and she's an attorney. She has to go to court, so she couldn't move down there. And Chicago's better, not better. It's more fun than Springfield. So the impetus became that I had to make sure that the patients that were walking through the door were as qualified and as voluminous as possible. So I needed to make sure that we had lots of people coming through the door and lots of qualified people that were going to sign up for care plans and were going to become patients, just like our referrals become patients. So that's where our leverage strategies have really evolved over time, is we're just trying to become more and more adept at getting people into practices, already understanding what they're all about. And then in 2018, I was running into a problem because whenever I would see someone with a bad website that was going to become a client, I would send them to these companies that tend to market to chiropractors. And the problem was, even after they did that, I still didn't think the websites were that great in terms of converting. And if we were going to be sending traffic to their website, I wanted to make sure that it was done the right way. So I became, if any of you have ever heard of the story brand process or building a story brand by Donald Miller, the book that he wrote, I became a certified guide in that process to help people create story branded websites. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But that I think was a big danger we didn't have leverage. And then 2019 is all about helping as many chiropractors as possible grow their practices. So doing more webinars and speaking like this to try to get the message out to chiropractors what real digital marketing is all about. And it's not just running as many Facebook ads as you possibly can. So I wanted to give you some results of like what happened in that year of content. So I'm comparing 2000, this is my actual Google Analytics, a screenshot from it. So I'm comparing 2014 to 2016. 2014, we did absolutely nothing in terms of content. We had good SEO. We were running a little bit of Google ads, not very well, but we were doing it. 2015, we did a little bit at the end of the year with content, so I didn't want to use that because it wouldn't be a pure sample. But 2016 is when we really started to implement the basics of the strategy that we do now. And I wanted to show you what a difference it made between the 2014 and 2016. So in 2014, we had 3,400 users. In 2016, we had 9,400 users. So that 6,000 person delta, the significance of that is that it was basically all local, because all of the content that we were producing, we were boosting it out to pretty much a 10-mile radius around the practice. So having that content being pushed out there really allowed us to reach more people that would never have found us on their own. So not only were we becoming more competitive against other chiropractors, we were becoming more competitive against just them doing nothing or them not being educated to what chiropractic could help with. But the more important thing is our users went up 178%, but our page views went up almost 300%. So it went from 13,000 to 52,000, which is a 4x multiplier. What that means is there were more people coming that were local, and then once they got there, they were looking at other pages. So maybe we drove them there for a blog or for a testimonial or for a video, but then once they got there, they would consume the content that they were there to consume, but then they might start looking at some of our specials or our massage club or whatever else might be going on our website at that time. So that's the real value of content. And we didn't know how to run Facebook ads in 2016. So we were running no Facebook ads. This was strictly valuable content. And then more importantly, what every chiropractor always cares about is how many new patients it actually translated into. So we actually compared the 2018 stats just because that's what we're using now for our, the strategy that we're using now in 2018 is a little bit different than 2016. But you can see that over time, our patient referrals have stayed the same. Our screenings have almost cut in half because there's less women's expos, there's less bridal expos, there's less home shows, and just all these places, health fairs, where people will gather, especially women will gather, there's less opportunities for that. So as we've lost those, our miscellaneous, meaning our non-web-based, just kind of like grab bag, they come from wherever, those people have pretty much, those new patients have stayed about the same. The real change, though, is in the internet. So Google, and this is Google, Facebook, YouTube, just wherever they could find us online, and they tell us, yeah, we found you online. we went from 85, and again, we were doing better than almost probably all of our competitors locally in 2014. So it's not like we were doing terribly. We still got 85 new patients. Now we've got almost 200 more from the efforts that we have now. And like I said, even though we dropped in a couple of our key categories, we actually went up almost 30% in new patients between 2014 and 2018. So I'm going to go through 5 mistakes. So mistake number 1 is not creating consistent content. So the thing that I find with most chiropractors is they either are doing nothing in terms of content, or they've tried and they do it for a couple of weeks or maybe even a couple of months, but then they stop because they don't know what to say, they don't get anything from it, and all of the like the video editing, the posting, the like writing the copy, all of that becomes overwhelming to them, and they've got other things to do. And because there are no true deadlines in marketing, people just tend to like shove it off to the side. There are more important things that always get in front of marketing. So, but if you're not creating any consistent content, you're not creating value for your community. So before we get into just like what exactly to do, we want to talk about like what are the types of content that a chiropractor should be concerned with. So what makes you a triple threat are going to be 3 types of content. That's going to be video, text, and audio. So with the video for a chiropractor, those are going to be value videos, things that you teach someone how to do something, whether it's things they can do at home, whether it's analogies that kind of explain like how a subluxation works. You know, we have lots of metaphors and analogies where we explain to patients how their body works and how chiropractic helps with that. Those are great videos to put out and put into somebody's news feed, because most people just don't understand it. They just know that it helps with low back pain. Maybe they know that it helps with neck pain or headaches, but they don't know how the nervous system works to control everything, how it's the master system. So they don't understand when chiropractors say they can help babies with ear infections, if you don't understand how the nervous system works, that doesn't make any sense to you, right? So these videos allow us to educate our community in a way that we were never able to do before unless we personally went out and did it. And that's why we call our company Leverage Media, because we're trying to come up with ways to where you can spread the message of your practice in a leveraged way, instead of you having to go set up a talk, get 20 people in the room, then tell them, or go do a spinal screening, or wait for referral. Now it's like we can just force our way in front of where people are spending their time. Instagram video are great for that. Text, meaning blog posts. So blog posts are going to be super important for your SEO, showing Google that your website is relevant and that you have something to offer that your competitors might not. And then audio is going to be mainly podcasts. The one, I think podcasts are fantastic for chiropractors. And I think that there's a way to do it to where you could become a community resource and you could interview people around the community instead of just like talking about your office. The problem is if you're not doing video and text, you should not be worrying about running a podcast. So until you have mastered, or if you squeezed all the juice out of a video strategy and a blog strategy, just don't even think about podcasts. Community groups are another thing that are kind of hot right now that, again, it's like if you're not doing 6 video, text, the basic blocking and tackling when it comes to digital marketing, the audio and the community groups, those are kind of like the icing on the cake. You have to bake the cake first, though, to put the icing on the cake. And the video and the text is where your focus should be at. So the one thing that I see with some of the people that are creating content is they make the content about themselves, about their office, or about chiropractic as a practice. And what you have to understand is the people that are going to consume your content is they only care about themselves and they only care about their problems. So you have to create content that is going to meet them in that space. If you're talking about chiropractic, no one cares about chiropractic. No one cares about your practice. No one cares about you or your staff. They care about themselves and their problems. And so you've got to create content that is going to talk specifically to those problems. How can you get rid of low back pain on your own? They don't even want to come in the office. Like, it's not like they're dying to come into the chiropractor if they've never been to a chiropractor before. They're not dying to go find a chiropractor. They just want the results that come from chiropractic. They want to be out of pain. They want their nervous system to function properly. They want to be able to live their life fully. So if you can give them tips on things they can try on their own, and if those don't work, guess who they're going to know tried to help them out? Whether it worked or not, they're going to at least know, they're going to see you as an expert. They're going to know your face. They're going to know your logo. And then when they do go to Google and they're just kind of like spinning the roulette wheel, maybe they pick you because you're a little bit more top of mind than the guy in your town that doesn't do anything. The other thing is if you are going to do content, is you got to make sure that it actually is getting shown to someone. So organic reach in Facebook is pretty much dead. There's a thing called Facebook Zero, where Facebook is basically taking organic reach for business pages down to 0. Instagram is still a little bit okay. It's okay, but it's going down rapidly. LinkedIn still has some pretty good organic reach. That will eventually change as they get more of an ads product out there. But LinkedIn is not really like it's more for a B2B business than it is for a B2C, like a chiropractic office. So if organic reach is dead, the only way that you're going to get your message out is if you're putting money behind the content. So when you create the content, you have to, it's within Business Manager, you can run an ad where the content is the video. You can put a link to your website there. So if they want to learn more, they can click through and go find out more about the website. But really the idea is just to put value out into the community and let people start to understand what it is that chiropractic can do and what it is that makes your practice special versus somebody down the street. Because if all you do is wait for Google to just like spit out your website, they don't have any context. Like when people look for chiropractors, in my experience, they don't go and interview 5 different chiropractors. Like maybe 1% of people do that, but 99%, they just go to the chiropractor that like did the spinal screening at their office or was at the expo or their friend knows or Google, like they just happen to show up first. So they're just going to whoever just randomly like pops into their life. So if you're randomly popping into their life with value before they have to decide who their chiropractor is going to be, you've got a lot better chance to do that than somebody who's not. And then there's Google. So with Google, it's a little bit friendlier, I think, than Facebook. It's not as much pay to play, especially when it comes to content. With content, Google just wants relevant, consistent content. So their whole mission in life mission as a business is to organize the world's information so that people can find it easily. So the easier you make it for Google to find your information, to show it to people that are looking for those answers, the more they will reward you with free traffic. So we'll go into the different parts of Google, but when we're talking about content, relevant, consistent content delivered to a local chiropractic page will show Google that it is relevant, and that more importantly, that it's more relevant than the other websites that it's competing against for chiropractic search terms that aren't doing anything. And having a blog that your website posts for you and also for 1,500 other chiropractors around the country most of those are unlisted. Google never sees those, and even if they did, duplicate content is a bad thing, so you don't want to do that. But you want to be creative, consistent, answering the questions that people are looking for, so that when they're looking, Google allows you to pop up. And like I said, duplicate content is bad. You don't want to be copying other people's blog posts because Google will ding you for that, and they'll see that you're the one that copied the other place. So you have to be creating your own consistent original content to really be seen as valuable in Google's eyes. So mistake number 2 is expecting Google to deliver all your patients on a silver platter for free. So when I ask people what their online strategies are for getting new patients, it's almost invariably like, well, I've got the website and they do the SEO and that gets us clicks and people call us and say they found us on the website. Most of the time though, like I think a lot of chiropractors get confused because they don't go the next level with their new patients. So when the new patient on your website decide as a call, the next question needs to be like, where did you hear about us first? Because if they met you at a screening a year ago and they just found a flyer that you had given them and then they just type in the name, they usually go with whatever they did last as the thing that they give the attribution to. But what we want to know is like what happened first. Now, if they go on Google and type in, Springfield, Illinois chiropractor, and they click on us because we were the first people that popped up, then yeah, like Google delivered that patient. Like that patient only came in because we had done the Google ad or gotten the reviews or had a good SEO presence. But that can't be your only strategy. And especially for free, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So there's 3 parts to Google. There's Google Ads, there's Google Maps local search, and then there's organic local search, which is the thing that is influenced by SEO. So all 3 of these pieces are completely separate from each other, and they all have different rules and different ways that you can optimize. So Google Ads is what I want to talk about first because I think it's the most important now. And the reason why is because Google is making the Google Ads look more like organic listings. They actually look better than organic listings, and they're putting them above the local box, and the local box goes above the organic SEO options. So these are screenshots of if we typed in Springfield, Illinois chiropractor for either your desktop or for your mobile device. So you can see, so this is called above the fold, meaning you don't have to scroll to see anything else. So anything above the fold is the first thing that pops up. And look above the fold how much space is taken up by Google Ads on the desktop side. That's probably almost 98% of the space available for things that you can click on the desktop. On the mobile, it's even worse. It pretty much takes up 100%. This time there was only 1 Google ad that showed up, but normally there's 2 or 3. You have to scroll past the Google ads to even get to the local map box, and then you got to scroll past that to get to the SEO. And that's why I think that SEO is just becoming less and less important, and it's more important to show up in the Google ads and in the local box. The second, and the other thing is, if you notice in the local box, that top section, if you notice the little ad button or the little box next to the 4.9 here, that is a Google ad. Even though I'm the top organic listing, my Google ad still pops up above that. So the thing with local search on the Google Maps is Google improperly, I think that they are using location way more than they should. They're kind of treating us as if we're like an oil change place or a pizza parlor, to where somebody, it needs to be 100 feet away for you to want to go visit there, as opposed to who's the most relevant or who's the most respected in town. So if we're on the west side of town, if you're on the north end of town, they're probably going to show you the north end chiropractors versus the west side chiropractors, right? So that's why Google ads are so important now, because that Google ad could actually pop up into that box when you don't get selected as one of the top 3 organics. So making sure that you have good reviews on Google. I don't think I have to tell anyone that you should be getting more Google reviews. Making sure that you have good Google reviews is super important for the local box, because even if I was number 3 in this actual section, the people that I am competing against in the other 2 offices, I think one had 15 and one had maybe 3. So my 211 reviews are going to pop, that's going to stick out to someone, and I'm probably going to get that click whether I'm 1, 2, or 3. And then the third section is going to be what we were talking about, is the organic search. So this one on the left is an organic search for Springfield, Illinois chiropractors. So again, you've got to scroll past the Google ads, you got to scroll past the local box. Now you're down into the organic listings. The organic listings, again, I want my SEO to be as high as possible. I just don't think that offices should put all of their eggs into that basket, because I just think that it's not as valuable as they think it might be. So Yelp has done a really good job in most cities of getting the top spot when somebody looks for Springfield, Illinois chiropractor, because they have this thing where they do the best 10 chiropractors in Springfield, and then they update it every single month. And for whatever reason, Google really likes that. And so they've got the #1 spot in almost every place I look. So if you can be number 2, that's great, because you're the first local brick and mortar. But basically, if you're not in the spot that I am here, which is the #2 spot, or the next spot is this. Like 95% of the organic SEO clicks will probably go to those top 3 local brick and mortars. So if you're not in that top 3, that's when you've got to think more about what does my website actually look like? And we'll talk more about conversion and setting your website up for conversion later on. This one up in the upper right-hand corner, this is more of a, this would be for somebody who had sciatica, but they didn't know that chiropractic could help with sciatica, and they didn't know what to do. So they just typed in sciatica treatment, Springfield, Illinois. So I think that that's a reasonable search term, that if you know you have sciatica, like your MD diagnosed you with it, gave you some, you know, Neurontin or whatever it is, you're not feeling any better. So you're like, I got to do something. What is a treatment that I can do? And I need it to be local. That's a reasonable search term. When you do that in Springfield, Illinois, all my videos from my office, if you click that right arrow, it would actually show you 3 more videos that we've done on sciatica, one of which is a testimonial of a lady we helped with sciatica. Down here, this other circled area is 5 natural ways to treat sciatica, and it's got Springfield, Illinois in it so that they know that it's a local blog. And then because we do a good job of like doing the things that Google wants us to do, we show up, they're nice enough to put our Google My Business over here to the right. Not a local box where there's like 3 other people that you can choose from, just me. Like Google is saying, like, if you're looking for sciatica treatment in Springfield, Illinois, you should probably give these guys a call. They seem like they know what they're talking about. I mean, look at how much space I take up on that above the fold section. That's why content is so important. You cannot do that with SEO. You cannot get that kind of coverage just with doing SEO. So these are the things that we do for clients. Like all the stuff that I'm showing you are things that we're able to implement for offices. So mistake number 3 is having a website set up to hack SEO instead of being set up for conversion. So if you've gone to a lot of chiropractic websites, there's a lot of like keyword rich paragraphs like on the first page, so that Google knows that it's like a Springfield, Illinois chiropractor, right? But the thing is, it just like looks kind of weird. It doesn't really like fit, it doesn't look that nice. And again, if you're not getting a bunch of traffic from SEO, then you should probably be more worried about like, what is the experience of the people that actually land on the page? So for me, I think conversions on a website are more valuable than Google just delivering people to me via SEO. So I would much rather get 50 people that show up on my website with 10 of them converting into a new patient exam than getting 1,000 people to my website and only having 5 of them convert. Like, I don't actually care about the traffic at all. I would rather take 10 people getting to the website if all 10 of them converted. So I get a lot of traffic to our website, but we probably only get, I don't know, like 5% of the people that actually land on our website end up becoming new patients based off of our analytics and our tracking. So we have to do a better job as an office for creating our websites to be more conversion based, which we're in the process of doing. So when we talked about StoryBrand earlier, and we'll talk about the book here in a second, if you want an example of a StoryBrand website, you can either go to storybrand.com or you can go to leveragemedia.com, because that website is actually story branded, so that it is such a clear message that if you're looking for done-for-you marketing and you're a chiropractor, you have landed on the right place. And it's a very simple way to go, and that's how we're going to be redoing websites for ourselves and for other chiropractors in that story brand style, because I think that that will lead to more conversions of the people that actually make it to your page. So most people are running different channels, so those all will point back to your website. So if somebody finds you on Facebook, or they find you on Instagram, or they find you on Google Ads or YouTube, no matter what, I think that they're always going to at least check out your website first. So if you have a really good experience on your website and you're very clear about who you help, how you do it, how easy it is, you make it simple for them to convert, I think that you'll get more conversions. Because if you have a bad website, even if you've got a great Facebook presence, even if they make the appointment, and the appointment's in 48 hours, they're going to go check out your website. Even if it's just to download your forms, they're going to go check out your website. And if they get a bad feeling about the website, because I've seen some bad ones to where I'm like, if I was a patient and I went to this, I would not think that you were very good at being a chiropractor if your website was this bad. Especially like younger people, like people that are in their, mid 20s, 30, 35. Digital marketing, the digital brand is almost as important as the in-person brand, I think, for people that are digital natives and they grew up with this. So the book that I've been talking about is Building a Story Brand. This is another book that I think every single chiropractor should have. It helps you with understanding that the patient is the hero and you are the guide. So this is a big mistake that a lot of chiropractors make, is their website is all about them. It's all about their office. It's all about chiropractic, as opposed to making it all about the patient. Again, if you go to that Leverage Media site, you'll see that the whole website is really based around the chiropractor and the concerns that they have and the hopes and dreams that they have. There's only a very small section on there where I talk about us and why we are better than our competitors, but it doesn't even mention me like on the homepage. Like if you want to go to Meet the Team or Meet Dr. Nick, you can find out more, but that whole website is built to make the patient the hero, and I want to be the guide for that chiropractor. So you want to be that way for your patients. You want to be the guide. You want to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Yoda versus Luke Skywalker. The hero is a weak character. The guide is the strong one. The guide is the smart one. The guide is the one that's been there before. They're the ones that helps the hero move from point A to point B. You don't want to position yourself as the guide as the hero, because then you're competing in that patient's movie in their own mind that they are the hero. The other thing is you want to build sites for mobile as opposed to building them for desktop and then making them mobile friendly. I cannot tell you how many times I see websites that have drop menus, have drop down menus, and then have a third drop down menu off the second drop down menu. That is not a good mobile experience. No one is searching. No one's going to all of these pages that you have on your website. They're basically going to your homepage, your contact us, your Meet the Team or Meet the Doctors page. And if you have like testimonials or you have like a special offers page, maybe like if you take insurance, like what insurances you take, but that's about it. And that's why the homepage has to be built with all the information that you want them to understand needs to be on that homepage instead of spread out across 50 different pages. Then the other thing is making it easy to convert, just giving them a very clear action step that they can take. Once they decide you're the person for them, you want them to be able to take action. And then we are the only StoryBrand certified chiropractor in the world. So I'm in the certified guide program, so I know all the other people. So I should put an asterisk because I never know what happens like, last week. But as far as I know, I'm the only chiropractor who is StoryBrand certified. So when I take people through the StoryBrand process, I have not only the StoryBrand training, but also I have 12, almost 13 years of experience with running a chiropractic office and understanding chiropractic in a way that people that are not chiropractors just can't. They could never understand it the way that we do. So mistake number 4 is having a lack of a cohesive strategy. So most offices will have 1, maybe 2 channels going. Even if they had a bunch of channels, they're usually multi-channel. So everybody's got a website now. Even the guy in my town that he literally got a website up until last year, he had a website that his Yellow Pages company built for him. And then he finally got one last year, so I was proud of him on that. Then some people are running Google ads. Some people might be running Facebook ads, doing email marketing or YouTube. Hardly anybody's doing YouTube, but for those first 4, like at least some people are doing them. The problem is they don't really work together. Like there's no cohesive strategy. They're just like running parallel to each other and they don't really speak to one another. What omni-channel is what we try to do for our clients, is to make sure that not only are you doing all of those things, but how are they all working together? How are they all feeding one another? How are you driving traffic to that website? Is that website set up for conversions? Are you creating value on your Facebook that helps out with your Google ranking? Like there's just lots of different ways that you can make all of these things work together. It's just that you have to have a strategy to make that happen. And usually most chiropractors are kind of farming out one piece or another to a CA or to a Facebook marketer or whoever, and there's nothing they're just not communicating as much as they should. So the way that all of this works is through pixels. So pixels are a piece of code that you can put on your website, landing pages, basically any digital property that you own, you can put pixels on. Now, you don't own your Facebook page, you don't own your Instagram page, your LinkedIn, your Google profile, you don't own any of that. So when people land on different things like that you own, meaning your website or landing pages, you can have these pieces of code from these different places, from YouTube, from Google, from Instagram, from Facebook, so that now, if you know they went to your website, now you can communicate with them on these different channels. And that's how you get everything to work together so that you can have more conversations with patients that have raised their hand and said they're interested in what it is that you have to talk about. And then our last mistake is thinking that you can do it all on your own. So a lot of chiropractors are, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, like, I'm going to do everything, because we always have to do everything. A lot of us started our own practices from scratch, and when you do that, you've got to do everything. I mean, I was answering phones when I bought my first practice. It was a year before I had a staff member. So I get that it's our nature to want to do everything, and usually our organizational chart looks a little bit like this when we first start, and even as we continue on into practice. But it just doesn't work as well, because you're never going to have the time to learn as much as you should. So then what the next step is that you get your CA's on Instagram, so she must know how to do Facebook and Instagram, so I'll have her do it. The problem is she doesn't have any strategy of how to promote your practice, and she really doesn't have the tech expertise to do the back end that really matters when it comes to pushing your message out to your community. And then everybody's got the Facebook experts that are bombarding their LinkedIn and their Facebook. Unfortunately, because we went to chiropractic school, we're easy to target. If you went to chiropractic school, obviously you're a chiropractor probably, and if you went to one of these 17 schools or whatever it is, now I know I can show you ads for chiropractic Facebook marketing. So all of these Facebook courses are teaching people that you shouldn't try to be something to everyone. You should try to be like everything to one kind of person. You should try to run Facebook ads for dentists or chiropractors or oil change places or whatever it is. So because chiropractors are easy to target, they are usually the low-hanging fruit. So when people first start learning how to do Facebook ads, getting leads for an online coach or somebody who's selling a course is hard, because it's complicated. Running a $21 offer for a local chiropractor is not hard. So that's where the least skilled people start at. And then some of them stay with chiropractic. Most of them will graduate up to stem cells or medical spas or integrated clinics, because that's where the real money is. But for regular chiropractors, they're the market for, so they usually either stop doing chiropractors or they move up to the super profitable ones. The problem is that they don't know enough about marketing for chiropractors. They only know about marketing. They only understand Facebook ads. And then the reason why everybody basically uses the same Facebook ad for chiropractors is because these marketers, that's all they know how to do. And that's pretty much where their expertise stops. So what really sets Leverage Media apart is, obviously I'm a chiropractor, and not only am I a chiropractor, but I'm still running my practice, which is very different than even there are some chiropractors that have agencies, but they haven't practiced in 10 years. It's different when your money's on the line. So I'm selfish when it comes to marketing. I want 10x return on every dollar spent on marketing. So I'm constantly trying to figure out what's the best way to do it, what's in any new tools that are out there, any new strategies that we can try. So my office is pretty much the laboratory for Leverage Media. So we're always trying new stuff. We're always trying videos and images and different copy and different types of content, and how we can drive it this way or move it that way. And so you basically get all of that knowledge of me trying to always figure the next thing out. Because when I find something that works, all of our clients get that implemented. So that's one of the biggest things. We only serve chiropractors, so it's hard enough trying to figure out how to drive qualified new patients into chiropractic offices. It would be a lot harder if I was also doing that for insurance agents or dentists or orthodontists or plastic surgeons. So a lot of marketers, once they kind of figure it out with chiropractors, dentists are usually the next step. So they'll usually have some chiropractors, some dentists, some stem cell people, some medical spas, because again, that's where the money is, and they'll tend to move from like regular chiropractors on to those things, and they'll just keep the ones that they started with, but eventually they move on. But because I'm a chiropractor, and because like our mission is to get the message of chiropractic out to the masses, and this is the way to do it. This is the vehicle to do that. So like, I'm not leaving chiropractic. I'm not moving on to medical spas. Like, I don't do stem cells in my office, so I don't really know that I would be like the expert when it comes to promoting stem cells, or whether I would really want to. So what I'm really good at is helping regular chiropractors that have wellness-based vitalistic practices. You know, if you do those other things, that's great. We could probably try to like help you out with that. But like, I focus on regular chiropractic. How can we get more people through the door so that we've got less people, you know, closing up shop, and we're helping more people out in our communities. And then obviously we implement our exact office strategy for you for the pieces that we do for our clients. It's exactly what we do in the office. We're always changing, always adapting, because social media, digital marketing, how these things work together, it's always changing. And that's why I think it's dangerous for chiropractors to think they can do it all themselves, or to just like hire the Facebook guy or get the CA, because there's so many things that I get training on every year. I'm probably reinvesting anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 into the best training in the world on digital marketing, and it's even hard for me to keep up. You know, and this is what I do all the time, but it's just, there's so many changes that the things that worked 6 months ago don't work anymore. You know, the things that worked 12 months ago, like some of the stuff doesn't even exist anymore. So it's a rapidly changing landscape, and if you aren't focused on this entirely, it's tough to keep getting a good ROI. And then the other thing is that we're omni-channel, not just Facebook ads. So when people hear that I'm a digital marketer, they just instantly think of Facebook ads, because that's what everyone that I quote unquote compete with does. But we do, we help you create content within your own practice, and then we use our strategy to get that out on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on your website, blog posts, email marketing. We also do Facebook ads. We also do Instagram ads. We also do Google ads. So we manage all of those things for you. And like I said, we do about 95% of it. The 5% that only the office can do is what we ask of, which is basically create the content and follow up with leads. The rest of it we do for them. But we take an omni-channel approach. We have a content marketing approach that merges with lead generation, so that it's not just like blasting ads out nonstop. We work with a lot of great doctors. We're also certified partners with a couple of the biggest names in chiropractic. So we're Remarkable certified partner, 8-week certified partner, Cash Practice certified partner. We're Story Brand certified. Like I said, we're the only chiropractor in the world that has that certification. But if anyone knows Stephen Franson or Dane Donahue or Miles Bosden, those people are not allowing me to say that we're certified partners unless they believed in what we do, unless they believed that what we're offering our clients is what chiropractors should actually be doing when it comes to digital marketing. So I've got an offer for you guys today. So we talked a little bit about the strategy session earlier. So for the first 50 qualified offices, you'll get a 60-minute strategy session with me. So before the call, I get on, again, your website, your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, your Google presence, what your competitors are doing. And then when we're on the call, I will give you exactly what I think you should be doing to improve upon this. And if it were my own practice, like if we were partners, like here's what I would be doing tomorrow to make this better. So whether you end up using leverage media or not to like fix those problems, or maybe you're doing great, and I'll tell you that. I'll just be like, you're doing awesome, give you some ways to like optimize it. But most of you are not. Most of you are doing terrible, and you know that. So I will let you know, like I'm super honest. I'm kind of like a tough love coach. So like I'll tell you what's not right and what you are doing right. And then I'll let you know what leverage media does, how we help, like what our exact process is. And then if you end up deciding to use us, that's awesome. But even if you don't, the strategy session will probably be the most valuable hour that you will spend. My goal is always to make it the most valuable hour that you spend that month, potentially the year. Because if you really take to heart what I'm telling you about these digital marketing strategies, if say you're getting 5 new patients a month from your online efforts, if you do the things I tell you to do, whether you use us or not, you can take it to 10, to 15, to 20. I mean, there are people that get hundreds of leads, hundreds of patients, hundreds of customers per month using these strategies. Your community might be a little bit different. Your office might be a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that the strategies aren't right. So I would highly recommend, if I were on this call, I would be taking me up on this. I only have, because I have to do them, my time is like my most valuable resource. So I don't have a ton of time in my schedule. So I would recommend getting on my schedule soon for this, because these will, whether it's on live or whether it's on the replay, I think that these will be gone, and I will start to get busier as the year goes on because I'm doing a lot of speaking this year. So be sure to get this soon. So it's leveragemedia.com/strategy. Let's see. And then this is my favorite quote from BJ Palmer: early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. Like, nobody understood getting the message of chiropractic out to the masses more than BJ Palmer. And my opinion and my thought is that if it's good enough for BJ, it's good enough for all of us. So I really appreciate your guys' time. I'm going to hand the controls back over to Dr. Margie. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, and we can stay here and answer them for as long as we need. And if you want me to help you out with some of the online strategy, just go to that website and we'll get that scheduled.
Dr. Nick, thank you so much. What an unbelievable webinar. Tons of amazing content. Probably one of the most powerful things that I've heard in a long time was you saying, I don't want to die running 2 mediocre offices. And that's just like unbelievable that you've had that experience already in your pretty young career in chiropractic already. So thanks again so much for being a part of the webinar and giving some really unbelievable content to our viewers today.